Hello and assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome to the SBL March 2025 mock debrief. And today I'm investigating the task 2 of this mock, and I'm Kashif Kamran. Now, just like the task 1, I would first like to emphasize on the reading and planning time and the writing time for this task 2 before I take on the investigation of the task 2 on the practice platform. Now, the task 2 is of 40 marks, so that's the heavyweight in the whole paper because the task number 1 was of 28 marks. Now, in terms of this task 2, it's split into part A and B. The total time for the 40 marks, which includes the technical and the professional marks, will be multiplied by 1.95 is 78 minutes, of which 1/4 time is to be given on reading and planning and 3/4 on writing. So that means 20 minutes to read and plan and 58 minutes to write the overall 40 marks. A split between task 2A and 2B. 2A is of 24 marks multiplied by 1.95, so that is 47 minutes for 2A, of which 12 minutes will be to read and plan and 35 minutes to write. For task 2B, you have 16 marks, 1.95, you multiply that with 31 marks you get for the total time, of which 8 minutes is to read and 23 minutes is to write. There are two exhibits for the task 2 because it's quite a longer one. So for the task 2A, you have one exhibit. For task 2B, you have another exhibit to read through. For task 1, we did in the previous session, we only had one exhibit to refer to. Two formats will be used in. One will be a report and the second one will be the email. Okay, just let's open up the task 2 on the practice platform. Okay, now you can see the practice platform in front of your screen for the task 2. We'll read through it and we'll copy paste that into the word processor and then start building up the answer. So we'll open up the word processor on one side. We just narrow it up a bit. So we keep it on one side of the window and we'll open up the task 2 on one side of the window. Now this is the task number 2. Okay. Now, if you read through and copy paste, the task 2 says, the CEO has asked for your assistance on two issues. You are a senior business analyst from the task 1. You must be aware of that. Firstly, the two strategic development proposals, which has been highlighted at the recent board meeting. So you need to evaluate the two strategic proposals which has been highlighted at the recent board meeting. And you can see on the left panel, there is exhibit number 2 with the title of board meeting extracts. The CEO wishes to examine these proposals in more detail before the board decide which proposal to select and ask for your help. So you need to help the CEO in choosing which proposal to go with. So once he meet up the board, he is in a better position to have an argument with them. Prepare a report for the CEO which evaluates the two strategic options. So you have to evaluate the two strategic development proposals given in the board meetings, recommending the most appropriate one. Not just evaluating, but you need to recommend the most appropriate proposal of the two. That's number 1, and you have 14 marks for that. So in the 14 marks, 7 marks will be taken by this proposal 1, 7 marks will be taken by the proposal 2. You have to give a recommendation. So in that way, you can keep 6 marks for proposal 1, 6 marks for proposal 2. So that's 12, and you can keep 2 marks for recommending which one is the most appropriate one. Now, when you have 6 marks for the proposal 1, you divide 6 with 2 because each well-developed point in SBL is 2 marks. So that means you will be writing 3 good paragraphs, 3 good points for the proposal 1, 3 good points for the proposal 2 within the 6 marks. And then you will give a recommendation that which one is better and why. And you wrap up the 14 marks. Number 2, evaluate the sources of finance which are available. So you need to evaluate the sources of finance available within the same exhibit number 2. You will look into those sources given to you in the exhibit number 2, and you will choose which of the two is better, recommending the most appropriate source. So the theme of the question is same like the 2A1, and you have 6 marks. Now, in terms of the 6 marks, you will keep 2 marks for the recommendation. You will be left with 4 marks. Now, the sources of finance given to you in the exhibit 2 are 2. So for one source of finance, you will keep 2 marks. For another source of finance, you will keep 2 marks. And then for another 2 marks, you will give a recommendation that which of the source is better and why. And you wrap up your 6 marks. Professional marks are available for demonstrating skepticism skill. So you need to demonstrate the skepticism skill. How? In challenging objectively the two strategic development proposals made by the director. So you will be looking at the pros and cons. You will be challenging the proposals. So you will be speaking in favor of it and against what is good, what is bad. So that's where you will be skeptical. You're not just looking at one side of the proposal. You will be looking at both sides of the proposal and then recommending which one is better and why will again demonstrate the skepticism. It's so when you're evaluating a proposal, within each proposal, you will say you will look into the good side of it and the bad side of it. And then when you're giving a recommendation, you will say this one is good and why. So automatically that challenging objectively will come into play for 4 marks. Okay, that's the requirement number 2A. Now you come to the requirement number 2B. Secondly, the CEO has just forwarded you an email. So the CEO has forwarded you an email. You can see on the left side, you can find an exhibit with the title of email from the CEO, which has received from the newly appointed chair of the audit committee, which has asked for the advice on the latest risk assessment report forwarded by Courtjet's risk manager. Prepare an email response to the chair of the audit committee. So you need to prepare an email response to the chair of the audit committee, which assess how strategic. Sorry, first of all, you need to prepare an email response to the chair of the audit committee. That's what you need to do in number 1, which assess the Courtjet's risk assessment framework, which must be given to you in the email, could be applied to the individual risk given to you in the exhibit number 3, included in the latest risk assessment report. So the risk given to you in the email, you need to evaluate each risk. You need to assess each risk in light of the framework adopted in the email. You need to see which framework they have adopted. And according to that framework, you need to assess each of the risks. Generally, when we say assess each of the risk, it means the likelihood and impact, and also talking about what's the best way to mitigate it under the TARA model. So likelihood, impact, and then recommending the best strategy under the TARA model. That's basically the 3 things you do whenever you're asked to evaluate or assess the risk given. But we'll see the email and see what needs to be done. But you have 12 marks. Now, for example, if you have 4 risk, I've seen the email, it has 4 risk. So you will be dividing the 12 marks among the 4 risks. So that means each risk gets the 3 marks. And then you will divide those 3 marks into like 1 mark for the likelihood, 1 mark for the impact, and 1 mark for what is the best strategy under the TARA model once I draft the B part of this answer. So email and in the first part, a report. Professional marks are available for demonstrating the analysis skill. So you need to demonstrate the analysis skill for 2B in considering how Courtjets could effectively use the risk management framework to assess the risk. How could they use the framework to assess the risk? So if you evaluate each risk, for the likelihood and impact, you're assessing each risk for the likelihood and impact, and you're giving your justification. Because when you say high likelihood, when you say low likelihood, when you say high impact or low impact, each needs to be justified. So your justification is important. So that justification will help you score the 4 analysis skill mark. I hope you're sound on that. Okay, just let's open up how to write the answer. First for 2A, followed by the 2B. So you copy this up from here, 2A, and you take it to the word processor, part A, and you paste it here. So these are the 2 things you need to do for 2A, write a report. And for the 2B, you need to write an email to the chair of the audit committee on the risk assessment. So 2B, and you copy paste it on the word processor. Now you just close the task. Now everything here is on the word processor. Now first you quickly formulate the report. You give the heading report to, from, date, and subject. And report starts with an introduction. So you will give the introduction. So 2, we are writing this report to the CEO, and it's from the senior business analyst. That is what we know since the task number 1 we did. Senior business analyst. Date, we don't know the date, so we just put the cross. And subject, the subject is strategic development proposal and the financing options. That is what the requirements are, financing options. You write the introduction before you read the exhibit number 2 and 3. Sorry, exhibit number 2 only for 2A. You say the purpose of writing this report is to evaluate the 2 strategic development proposals presented by the board and to consider the best of the proposal along with the financing options best suitable for core jets, and you put a full stop. That's the introduction. You can bold the introduction because that will present the report in a better manner. So you can bold the subject as well. So things looks presentable. That's the beauty of the computer-based exam. Then you come to the part A. You can remove all the extra things. In the part A, you need to evaluate the 2 strategic development proposals. So you give the heading 1 and you say strategic development proposals. That's the first heading. Strategic development proposal. You need to evaluate each one of them and give recommendation. Strategic development proposal. And number 2 is the financing options. Number 2 is the financing options. Now, how would you break it? If you open up the exhibit number 2, you can see that in the exhibit number 2, we have been presented with 2 of the proposals. One is expansion of routes. One is offering business class seats. So expansion of routes. So you'll give that as the first heading, proposal 1, subheading, proposal 1, expansion of routes, and proposal 2, you will say offer business class seats on flights. And then you will give a recommendation finally that which of the 2 is good and why. So that's how you will fill up the answer. I told you that we have 6 marks for this divided by 2. So that means we need to write 3 points for proposal 1. Same goes with proposal number 2. I'll be writing the 1 proposal. You will be writing the second proposal yourself. Then you give recommendation for 2 marks and you will justify in like 2 to 3 sentences which of the proposal is good to go and why. That why is important because you need to score your skepticism mark. And when you're writing the 3 points on every proposal, you need to see the good side and the bad side. And every paragraph could be 2 to 3 sentences long for each of the point you're making under proposal 1 and 2. So you can bold the proposal 1 heading because that's again presenting them professionally. 2, a lot of times the student don't do the bold and underlining despite the fact these options are given to you in a computer-based exam, and then you have to give the recommendation. You can remove the marks once you finished off with the answer because you're not submitting the marks to the marker. You will remove every extra thing you're writing for your purpose. Then in the financing option, we have 2 financing options. If you go down and read this, we have increased debt level and lease. So debt and lease are 2 financing options. So we formulate the answer for financing option 2. Financing option, we have one as debt and we have one as lease, right? And then you have to give a recommendation. Which of them is better and why? Recommendation. And you have 2 marks for the recommendation. And you will just be writing a recommendation here in 2 to 3 sentences, which financing option is good to go and why. And for the debt, you have 2 marks. So you will write one good paragraph for 2 marks of like 3 to 4 sentences long. And again, for lease, you have 2 marks. So you will give one good paragraph of 3 to 4 sentences long for lease. And wherever the report ends, it ends because you're already giving recommendations for every part. So you're not giving any conclusions. Either the report has a conclusion or a recommendation. So you finish off with the part 2A. Then you will start definitely with the part 2B. And once we finish off with the part 2A, right? So just let's focus first on the part 2A. Okay, now let's see what is the first proposal and how to write the answer. The first proposal, both proposals, 1 and 2, will require investment in 25 new aircraft. So that's a common factor between both. Only one proposal can be chosen because for investment and the time scale for commencement for the chosen proposal is within the next 6 months. So there are some common things between proposal 1 and 2. 25 aircraft you need to invest in, and they need to be start within 6 months time. So these are common factors. We need to evaluate proposal 1 and proposal 2 on the uncommon side. The uncommon side is given below. Proposal 1, expansion of routes. The chief marketing officer proposed that Courjets expand the number of routes which it currently operates in Hungary. We know Courjets is operating in Hungary, the continent that is given in the pre-seen information. Courjets is operating in this continent for last many years, probably if I'm not wrong, for last 20 years. They know this market very well, the Hungary as a continent. So that is their existing market. What they want to expand the number of routes in the same market, which is Handria, existing market Handria. They have very good knowledge of Handria as a continent. They're operating here for the last 20 years. It's just about increasing the number of routes within Handria. So that's existing product, low cost carrier, core jets, and taking the existing product to the same market. That is Handria. They know Handria very well. So they're expanding in the same market. They're expanding in the same market. So if you look at the NSOF metrics, it's the existing product, Courjets, a low cost carrier, and they're just expanding the number of routes. For example, if they're offering 40 routes in Handria, they might now increase it to 60. So that's the same market, same product, same market, and they're just expanding, they're penetrating, market penetration. They're penetrating into Handria. So same market, same product, they're just penetrating into it. So that's NSOF strategy being applied here. There are several major cities in Handria which Courjets currently does not fly. So they want to. And there are some cities where they fly only for few months, not the whole year. Research carried out by the marketing department suggests that there is a high demand for flights for these destinations, so they need to explore them quickly. However, many airports in Hungary are struggling to cope with the increasing volume of flights and passengers. That's quite a negative point because if you opt for flights in those airports where there is already congestion, that might negatively affect your repute as Courjets. Your customer satisfaction score, which is given in the pre-seen information, is already at 78, which is the highest in the last 5 years, and it has improved from 74. But if you operate flights to congested airports where flight cancellations can take place, flight delays can take place, your customer satisfaction score can come down. So probably you need to look into uh, places in Handria where there are no congestions because you don't want your repute to be affected. So probably you might not be flying to the airports where there are congestions. You will be flying to airports where you are not flying to and where there are no congestions, or where you are flying for few months but not for the whole year. So you can think about expanding into that. But this is basically NSOF metrics, and this is basically the application of market penetration. And I'll be solving the one for you, and you will be doing the two yourself. But just to give you a quick glance of two, offer business class seats. They're currently an all economy airline, but they will be going for business class seats for the first time. Now, if they go for business class, they've never offered business class. So business class will be a new product development for them. Uh, Existing market, chief commercial officer proposed that Courgette should offer business class seats on flights to the same destinations. Same destination. Existing market, new product. Business class is a new product. So that's like a product development strategy they're undertaking in the proposal two as per NSOF. And they're taking the market penetration strategy in proposal one because they are in Hundria for the last 20 years. They're just expanding upon the airports in Hundria. So that Hundria is the same market they're serving for the last 20 years, but just expanding upon it. Market penetration. Let's write the answer for the number one. And please remember the pre-scene, just like the customer satisfaction score given in pre-scene, which was 74, but now it's 78 over the last 5 years and at the highest level. Pre-scene will be there in your mind because you must have read pre-scene prior to attempting the paper. Okay, just let's write the answer and show you the way of writing the proposal number one. Okay, just let me write down and then I'll remove the marks. Proposal one, expansion of routes. The proposal one propose Courgettes to expand into new to expand into expand the number of routes in Hundria, expand into more routes in Hundria. This means Courgettes will be using its same business model of the low cost carrier, the model they are familiar with, into the same market, Hundria, which they know for last 20 years. This will be a market penetration strategy. This will be a market penetration strategy and is the least risky option for any business to grow. So existing product, existing market, this is the least risky strategy for any business to grow. Paragraph number one. Number two, with the expansion into new routes in Hundria, now you come to the skeptical part. Hundria, Courgettes, the board need to consider not operating on routes where there are congestions at the airports already, as this will lead to negative implications on the repute, on the Courgettes' repute due to any possible flight delays and cancellation. Now you bring your pre-scene content here. The customer satisfaction score for Courgettes is currently 78, which is the highest in last 5 years data given. That's given in the pre-scene, right? And Courgettes would not like to affect this. And Courgettes would not like to affect this. Last para. 2 marks, last. If the proposal one is chosen, sorry, not this. Proposal one with expansion to new routes will bring additional expenses in view of marketing cost, whereby Courgettes need to make its existing customers aware of the new routes the airline is now offering. We know definitely when you do something new or you venture into new routes, you will be publicizing them. The publicizing will have cost. Moreover, the airport handling cost will increase as the airline will now be uh, landing at more airports under Proposal 1, which will increase the overall operating expenses. You know that you will be landing at more airports, so your airport handling cost will go up. So that's one side of the expenses coming with Proposal 1. And the other side is your negative implications if you go to the airports where congestion is already there. So you write three paragraphs, 222. You wrote about the market penetration strategy. You wrote about that it's an existing product with existing market. You wrote about some negative implications coming out of this first proposal if you go into the areas where congestion is. And you also talked about some increasing cost, like airport handling costs will go up. And you talked about the marketing cost going up. So you were skeptical in para 2 and 3. You then go down in the same way, write the proposal 2 in three paras. Then you give the final recommendation, which of the proposal is good and why, into like 2 to 3 sentences, and you wrap up your first answer. Then you go to the part 2 of the same question, financing options. That if you want to go with proposal 1 or 2, you have two financing options with you. One is debt, one is lease. I'll do the debt, you do the lease. The chief finance officer set out the main financing options available to Courgette to finance the 25 new aircrafts. Increase debt levels and lease 25 aircrafts. The first one, increased debt levels. Currently, the gearing ratio for Courgette is 2:1, which is below the average for the industry at 5:1. So that's good. If you even add on more debts by taking the 25 aircrafts on debt, it will still be uh, better off. It will increase from 2:1, but probably would not be 5:1 because you're just procuring 25 new aircrafts. Strict debt covenants currently exist. So currently you have some strict debt covenants. So there could be a possibility that one of a debt covenant prohibits you from more debts or more gearing. So that could become a barrier. Debt financing of any of the proposal would increase the gearing ratio. That's quite natural. Courgette has excellent relationship with its current debt provider. So at least getting the debt would be easier because you have a good relationship with your debt providers. But there could be a covenant uh, from your existing debts, which can become a barrier. And your gearing ratio would go up definitely, and your finance cost will go up. And with the cost going up, your profit margins will squeeze a bit because of the additional debt you will be taking in. But at least you will be better off than industry. So let's write a paragraph on debt. Number one option. If Courgettes sorry, not like this. The current gearing for Courgettes is 2:1, which is substantially better off than the industry gearing at 5:1. Even if further further debt is taken, the gearing would go up. The gearing would go up, but could still be better off than industry. However, the existing debt covenants could place any restriction, or barrier on new loans or new debts to be taken on. With the good relationships, with debt providers, getting on new debts for 25 aircrafts would be easier for Corejet's management. However, the additional debt will increase gearing, will increase finance cost for the company and squeeze the profit margins. That's 2 marks. So you're talking about that, yes, there are some covenants. The covenants can bring some restrictions. You're not known of that. You have good relationships, that's going in your favor. Your gearing is currently below the industry, that's going in your favor. But when you take a loan for the 25 aircrafts, your finance cost will go up, will squeeze down your profit margins. So this is one dimension on debt. Now, in the same way, you write about lease for 2 marks, and then you will tell that which of the two is good and why. Now, just one thing which I can relate with, if you go to the pre-scene information, and in the pre-scene information, we look at one thing. We saw the customer satisfaction score going up. Okay, your profit before tax is already going up over the last 5 years. So, but with additional debt coming in, you might see a bit of squeezing. But currently, there is a good trend going on in your profit before tax. It's all rising in. Same goes with your return on capital employed. It was higher in 20W9. It went a bit down in 20X0 and 20X1 as compared to the 20W9, but it has almost became at the same level at which it was in 20W9 in 20X2. So you can have some sort of a linking with profit before tax and ROCE when you're talking about the profit could squeeze up. You can take some numbers from here and can relate them down with. But that's how you write it. Then you give a recommendation. Is debt good? Is lease good? In 2 to 3 sentences, and that's the way you are getting your justification. Examining team loves your justifications, love your basis and reasoning. So be sure that as a strategic business leader, you're giving them very appropriately. So this is the way to structure report to, from, date, subject, introduction, strategic development proposal. Proposal number one, you can remove the marks now, and you wrote a good 3 good paragraphs on it. Proposal number 2, you will write yourself and then remove the marks. Then recommendation, which of the proposal is good and why, and you will remove the marks. Second, financing option, I wrote about debt, so I'll remove the marks. You will write about lease and then giving recommendation, which one is good and why. That finishes off 2A. Now we have 2B, where we need to write an email on the risk assessment, which we'll see now. Again, email is to, from, date, subject, just like you write a report. Because email has a subject, email has a date, and to and from. No need to write introductions in emails. But yes, when we're writing emails to someone, we'll say, Dear ABC. That's how you start writing, or you say hello. So in email, just like a letter, you will say dear. And to whom you're writing to the chair of the audit committee. So you will say, Dear Chair. So you're writing it to the chair of the audit committee. So it'll say, Dear Chair, and you start writing under that. And normally when you're writing an email, at the end of the email, you'll say, okay, I hope you give some sort of an ending statement that if you have any further questions, you can reach me, or if you have any further queries, you can reach me, something like that. And that ends the email, right? No need to give a signature, but just one last sentence that if you have any further queries or you need any further clarifications, you can reach me. So something like that. For any further clarifications or information, you can reach me anytime. I'm going to stop. Something like that, and it's the email. Now you need to write the body of the email. We'll see how many risks are there, and you need to assess each risk as per the framework adopted by the company. And we have 12 marks, so we'll see how to split the 12 marks. Okay, so to the chair of the audit committee from the senior business analyst, date, assuming any of them, unless given in the exam paper. Subject is risk assessment. And dear chair, and you start writing. And the dear chair, you say, okay, what's the purpose of writing? The purpose of writing this email to you is to present the assessment of each of the risk Courgette is facing as per the latest risk assessment report. The detail of risk assessment for each risk is given below. So that's just like a starter. And then you go down. So we'll see the email, how many risks are there. So we decide how to split the 12 marks. So we open up the email. And in this email, you can see on your screen, we have been given 4 risks: a cyber risk, a financial risk, a climate risk, and a security risk. So we have 4 risks: cyber, financial, climate, security. So we have 1 risk: cyber, financial, climate, and security. So we can divide what? We can just divide them into like 12 marks we have, right? So we can divide them in 3 marks each. 3, 3, 3, and 3. We'll see how to divide 3 further. And I've already given you a conclusion for the email as well, right? So we have 4 risks. I'll write 2 of them for you, and you will be drafting 2 yourself. Okay, just let's go through this exhibit, see what information we have. I hope this text is clear to all of you. If you can just enlarge it a bit. Okay. To, from, date, subject. Now, a good thing is that if you look at the email which we have received from the chair of the audit committee, the email addresses are given, right? So you can copy those email addresses if you want when you are writing the email back, because you are replying to this email. So you can copy paste the email IDs of the chair of the audit committee given, auditcommitteechair@courgette.com. Now we are writing it from the senior business analyst, so we don't know the email ID of the senior business analyst. So you can assume any email ID like senior business analyst@courgette.com, something like that, or you can leave it blank. Date is given September 20x3, so I can just update that date over here. September 20x3, the date is given. So we'll use the same date here, September 20x3. The subject is given of the email, risk assessment update. So I'll use the same subject because whenever you're replying to the email, the subject never changes. So risk assessment update. So I'll use the same subject if given in the exam paper, and I'll use the same date which if given in the exam paper, to the chairman, to the chair of the audit committee from senior business analyst. You can copy this from here. Currently in the mock exam, I cannot just copy it here. They have not made the commands workable in the mock exam to copy. So you in the real exam, you can just copy that and paste in your response area the email ID given in front of the chair of the audit committee. Okay, let's go Good day. I have received the attachment below from the risk manager. He informs me that this risk assessment is a key part of our enterprise risk management framework. You know, enterprise risk management framework is part of your syllabus. So this assessment below is part of their enterprise risk assessment framework. That's the framework they're using. I would like to seek your advice on this before I meet with him later today. So the audit committee wants your advice on this risk assessment being presented by the risk manager. And the audit committee wants to meet the risk manager later today, and they want an advice from you. Now, you are a senior business analyst, and you're giving him an advice. So once he meet up the risk manager, he can talk to him in a more productive manner. Many thanks. Okay, our latest risk assessment report identified the following: cyber risk, financial risk, climate risk, and security risk. All are increasing, and this is the assessment. You can see the column number two. The column number two is giving you the assessment. Now, looking at the column two, you need to think about the likelihood and impact carefully. Now, again, we can have varied answers to likelihood and impact because likelihood and impact is something subjective. My likelihood and impact could be different than from your likelihood and impact, and your likelihood and impact can be different from the examiner because likelihood is a subjective parameter. Impact is a subjective parameter. One can say low and you can justify. One can say high and can justify. Likelihood, one can say low and justify. One can say high and justify. So what counts at the end of the day is the justification. So no right and wrong answer. If I say low likelihood, some of you might agree, some of you might disagree, and this goes with the real scenario as well when you compare your answer with examiner. So likelihood and impact are subjective parameters, and we need a proper reasoning or a proper basis for that. But you will read the column number two to identify the likelihood and impact because you are assessing every risk. You are assessing every risk. That's the requirement basically, right? Assess the risk. And then you go down. They've given you the framework to assist in the risk assessment activities. This is the framework. Likelihood, impact, high or low. And according to that, will you reduce it? Will you accept it? Will you avoid it? Will you transfer it? Now, this framework is to be applied when you're writing the answer. So whichever risk you open up, you will first tell the likelihood of that risk. You will then talk about the impact of the risk. And on the basis of that likelihood and impact, for example, you conclude that the risk has a low impact, but a high likelihood. What strategy will you take? It's already given in the exam paper, reduce. If you think that there is a high impact risk with a high likelihood, then you will avoid it. So you will follow the grid given in terms of choosing the best strategy, what you should go with, right? Just let's go with the way of writing the answer. So if I have 3 marks, I will consume my 3 marks how? I will write one paragraph on the likelihood. I will write one paragraph on the impact, and I will write one paragraph on the uh, uh, mitigation, how to mitigate it. Either I transfer it, avoid it, reduce it, or accept it. So that's the Tara model, right? So that's how you are gaining your 3 marks. Is everyone clear with it? So you will assess the risk, and according to the assessment, you have been given this metrics. Once you assess, the metrics will tell you, will you reduce it? The metrics will tell you, will you accept it? The metrics will tell you, will you transfer it? You just need to choose the answer and then tell that if you transfer, how will you transfer? If you avoid it, what will you do to avoid it? If you reduce it, what will you do to reduce it? Is everyone clear with that? Is everyone getting the sense of writing in the answer? Please give me your answers. Is everyone clear with it? Just waiting for your answers. Thank you so much. Okay, Maiwa, what's your concern? What is not clear? Can you just question? We have 3 things to do, right? We have to assess the risk. Don't we assess the risk on the likelihood side and the impact side? Is that not what we study in SBL? The likelihood and impact? And once we assess the risk, don't we tell examiner how to mitigate it? Isn't this three things associated with any risk assessment we do in the SBL paper, all of you? So 1 mark for likelihood, 1 mark for impact, 1 mark for the mitigation. Is that clear to all of you? Mayowa, are you clear with that? That's basically the three things we do with every risk, right? As part of SBL. Okay, let's go one by one. Um, I will be taking on the financial risk and the security risk, and you will be doing the cyber risk and the climate risk yourself. Financial risk, political instability in oil producing regions has caused significant fluctuations in crude oil prices in the last 3 months. So, in the last 3 months, there have been quite a significant fluctuations in the crude oil prices. That means that the likelihood is currently high because this event is happening. This event is going on, as from my perspective, and the likelihood of this risk is high. Fuel accounts for over 20% of the total cost of core jets. Currently, the risks are increasing. So this risk is increasing currently. So the likelihood is high, but the impact needs to be judged because fuel cost is one of the major costs for an airline industry, and it says the fuel accounts for 20% of the total cost of core jets. So impact is there because the fuel prices rise, there will be an impact on your profit margins, and the shareholders will not be satisfied with that. Um, but the impact to me is low because we see that political instabilities causing the prices to go up and down are normally a short-term phenomena. They are not a long-term phenomena. We have seen so many world events in recent history where the oil prices fluctuate for few months and then they get back to normalcy. Haven't we seen such world events, all of you? Have we seen a very long-term impact on oil prices, like for a year or two? Or do we normally see turmoils and political instabilities or political events affecting the oil prices, and then it gets back to normalcy within like few months? I've never seen a long-term phenomena of oil prices deteriorating or oil prices fluctuating on over a year basis. It's normally they do fluctuate, but they get back to normalcy very soon as well. So that's the perspective what I am taking currently to determine my approach. So I would consider that currently, because there is a political instability and it's happening for the last 3 months. So if I'm doing the analysis today, I will say the likelihood is very high because it's happening, but I will say the impact will be low because it's currently impacting only my profitability. It's not impacting my operations. Core jets will still fly the aircrafts. Core jets will still be running the aircrafts. They will still be flying from one city to another city. But yes, the only thing they need to take into account is an extra fuel cost, which they can even pass on to the customers as well. We know normally when there is a high fuel cost, the airlines are very clever. They pass on the higher fuel cost to the passengers in terms of the ticket prices. So at the end of the day, that's a win-win situation for them. So for me, the impact would be low because they will be passing on the ticket prices to the customers, even if this stay for longer. So as per my assessment, if the fuel cost have a high likelihood and it has a low impact, so what will be my strategy, all of you? If I say the impact would be low on my justification and the likelihood is high because it's currently taking place, so what is the best strategy as per this metrics? Low impact, high likelihood. So I will go by reducing. Can I do some forward exchange contracts on the fuel prices? Can I secure some deals on attractive prices for fuel for the next 3 months? Can I do some hedgings? Can I do some forward exchange contracts on fuels to secure my 3 month supply, 2 month supply at a stable prices? So is that a good strategy for the business to reduce the exposure to the fluctuations in the fuel oil prices, all of you? Hedgings and forward exchange contracts? Is that what the reality is for business these days, all of you? Are you clear with financial? But again, your answer can differ from my answer. You can say no, the high likelihood is low, the impact is high. So you can have your own perspective to it. There is no one right and wrong answers. Yes, the transferring of cost to customer, that's the natural phenomena, Fatumata. You know that whenever the cost for a business increase, they pass on that extra cost to customer. Isn't that reality? Yes, you can think about that. That could have a negative impact. The customer can the customer can slow down. But is it a problem confined to core jets only? Is it the problem affecting the core jets, or all the airlines will increase the prices? If Corjets alone is increasing the prices and the competitors are not increasing, then Corjets will be negatively impacted, Fatumata. But because this is a phenomena which will affect all the competitors, so all the competitors will be increasing the prices, right? So the customers will have no choice. The customers will have no choice. They have to fly. They have to take flights to go from one destination to the other destinations. Are you clear on that, Fatumata? So I think the price increase would not be negatively affecting. Fatumata, yes, definitely. You can have your own perspective. That's what I said at the start of the answer as well. So you can think about that. And if you think about this risk could be transfer, then you need to think about what will be the best strategy for that. But again, it's your justification of likelihood and impact. Just let me show you how you write the answer. So political instabilities has caused fluctuations in the last 3 months. Okay. Number one, financial. Political instability has caused fluctuations in oil prices in the last 3 months. As this political instability is ongoing, the likelihood of the price increasing is high. However, the is high. The fluctuations could range from short term to medium term, depending upon the resolution, depending upon the resolution and outcome of the political instability. And we normally know this gets over because obviously the world powers get into it. The world powers doesn't want the prices to fluctuate for a very long term. So normally we find mediations and breakthroughs in such political instabilities affecting the global oil prices. Full stop. On the other side, on the other side, the fuel cost makes up 20% cost of core jets. And for any airline business, this is one of the major costs. The ongoing fluctuations, the ongoing fluctuations will impact on core jets profit margins, but core jets can recover them by passing on the rise in fuel cost to passengers as part of the airline, as part of the ticket price. This will help stabilize the profit margin a bit. So at least you can improve your profit margins a bit by passing on some impact to the customer, if not all. Uh, but coaches can recover them by passing on uh, on sum of the rise in fuel cost to passengers. This will help stabilize the profit margin a bit. So of this impact of the fuel cost on core jets will be low. Thus, core jets needs to adopt a reduced strategy to overcome this risk by uh, getting into a forward exchange contract, to hedge the oil prices, in order to have a more stable fuel cost and profit margins. Full stop. You complete off the first one. I'm not giving any subheadings. I'm only giving the heading financial risk. And under that, I'm writing a paragraph for 3 marks. But I'm giving my opinions. See, likelihood for the price is high. The impact would be low. Look at these words and look at this word, reduce. So you can break this, right, into 3 paragraphs. See the financial risk on your screen now. Because my perspective is that whenever the fuel cost rise, it's not only the core jets who is increasing the ticket prices, every airline do so. We remember COVID, right? In COVID, the airline business went down drastically. Didn't all airlines increase the ticket prices? We know that ticket prices were at the all-time high during COVID, right? So that was a phenomena not being done by one airline, but all. And in that way, you will not be negatively impacted. Because if you are the only one doing it, the customer will switch from core jets to others. I hope you're getting my point. But because this is an industry phenomena, customers can't switch from core jets to other. Because it's not just core jets doing it, all of them are doing it. So in that way, core jets can recover some of its profit margin by passing on the fuel cost impact to customers. And in that way, the impact would be low for core jets. So are you getting the way of writing the risk? The likelihood and a justification, impact and a justification, and then which strategy will you choose from the metrics given to you in the email of the CEO. So I choose from here low impact, high likelihood, reduce. But if you say reduce, you need to give an example of reduce. If you say avoid, example. If you say transfer, example. If you say accept, example. Is everyone clear with it? Should we move on to the next one? Please waiting for your answers. Are you all sound and clear with the way of drafting? Okay, thank you. Now I'm just writing one last, which is about security. Courgette operates a limited number of flights to Sonder, a country located in the southern Hungary. Okay, Hungary is a continent, right? Hungary is a continent, so there is one country in this continent known as Sonda, where they're operating limited number of flights. A new elected regime has taken over the government of Sonda, which is hostile towards Courland government. That's where you are. There is currently increasing civil unrest in Sonda. A competitor aircraft was hijacked on landing in Sonda last week, injuring several crew and passengers. Now look at the profile here. The impact is high. Core jets would not like to fly an aircraft to Sonda, would not like their aircraft to get hijacked, would not like their crew to be affected, would not like their passengers to be affected, would not like their repute to be affected. So the impact here is high. If core jet's aircraft gets hijacked, they will have negative implications. The people will question them why you flew there, why you took the aircraft there, knowing the fact the ground realities of Sonda. So the impact would really be high. And currently, if you look at the likelihood is high because it's taking place. Just last week, they hijacked an aircraft. So if there is so much turmoil in Sonda, the best strategy is with high likelihood and high impact is to avoid. Stop your flights. Stop your flights to Sonda till the time things gets better. Avoid it. I hope you're finding the analysis effective. It's high likelihood because it's ongoing. Just last week we had a hijacking of the flight, and the impact is high because you're putting everyone in risk. Passengers in risk, crew at risk, your repute at risk. In the fuel cost, it was just the fuel cost. Over here, everything is at risk. So just let's write the answer quickly. Sonda, what we're talking about. Number 3, security. With the increase in a new unelected regime, okay, there is an increasing civil unrest in Sonda. Okay, civil unrest. With the increase in civil unrest in Sonda, the with the increase in these with the increase in civil unrest in Sonda and the recent event of hijack of the competitor aircraft with injuries to the passengers and crew, the likelihood of this uh, the likelihood of this risk is high, as currently this political unrest is ongoing. Yes, one strategy can be used for two risk, but what I've seen in my study of the mock exam, in this case, one strategy was going with one. Suppose if avoid was there, then we had reduced when we had accept. I didn't find any repetition when I was solving the paper on the other risk, which I'm not doing currently, the climate and the cybersecurity one. There was no repetition, but yes, it could be possible that one strategy repeat. Okay, so as currently the political unrest is ongoing. Further, the impact is high because if core jets fly to Sonda and faces the same dilemma which the competitor has faced, it will negatively impact Corejet's repute and will put uh, passengers and crew at risk. And also, no one would like to fly there. But if anyone has to go in emergency, that's a different scenario. And the crew would be hesitant to fly as well. So in that case, the likelihood, the impact is high. Full stop. Therefore, considering, therefore, concluding on a high likelihood and impact, the best way to address this risk is to avoid it by not taking on any flights to Sonda till the time the situation improves. Full stop. So we had the conclusion, we had the likelihood, we had the impact coming in 3 paragraphs. So security, done. For any further clarifications, you can reach me anytime. That's how you're ending the email. Now you need to write the answer for climate, and you need to write the answer for cyber. Is everyone clear? How to go about writing this, and you can now remove the requirement. Prepare an email. You can just remove this requirement and you can say part B, and this is the answer for part B. So once you're done, please remove the marks. Once you're done, please remove the requirements. Anything extra or unnecessary which you have copy pasted in your word processor for your reading and planning time, please remove that when you're submitting the answer. Is everyone clear with this task 2 debrief? Are you finding a way of writing answers? Anyone who was